Good evening, friends. Is my sound audible?
కొంచెం బ్రీత్ బ్రీతింగ్ వల్ల ఎక్కువ వాయిస్ వస్తుంది.
గుడ్ ఈవినింగ్ ఫ్రెండ్స్. ఇప్పుడు
బాగుంది.
రైట్. సూర్య, ఏమేమి చెక్ చేస్తావు అంటే సౌండ్. సూర్య, వాయిస్ వస్తుందా?
వస్తుంది.
రైట్ సూర్య. Good evening, friends. Today we are going to discuss the topic of public health system. Public health system. Before going into this topic, let me tell you very clearly why this topic is very important from the perspective of UPSC mains. This is very important for two reasons, because health as a topic we have it in GS paper 2, and as a topic we have it in essay writing also, and at sometimes it might be asked in paper 1 also under the theme of society, right? So these are the three things why health system is important. And before going into health system, before going into this workbook, I just want to give some brief understanding about what is health, what is public health system, and then what is the difference between public health system and private health systems. To understand that, and then we will be going to what are the challenges that public health system is facing, and then what are the remedies that we can have, or what are the government initiatives that we have so far. So before that, let me make it very clear from the concept of the health itself. Let me take here health. First, let us understand what is health. Health is the physical well-being of the persons as well as the mental well-being of the persons. So it is the physical and mental well-being of a person is called health. If you are physically weak or if you are mentally weak, then you say that the person is not healthy. So health as such includes both physical and mental. Let us not forget this concept called mental aspect of health. It is one vital important thing in the factors of health. And now, so this is health. The second system is why we have to maintain health, why health is important. We all know that health is important, but why health is important? For a person, it is very important. For a nation, the health of individuals is very important. And for the globe, the health of the total atmosphere is very important. Now, if you look at the personal level, why health is important? At personal level, it gives the physical strength, or it gives the mental capability or the intellectual capability for the person. So it is capability enhancer. The moment you have more capability, you can do more work and you can earn more and you can reach to the opportunities in a very well manner. That is why there is one person called Amartya Sen who says that real democracy should enhance, or it has to increase the capability of the person. And how that can be achieved? Through the basic idea of health. The other system is education, is also one factor which will be motivating your capability. But the most important thing is health. As such, it includes the survival of the system. The second thing is it has its impact on the economic status of the person. A healthy person, because of his opportunities, he will be having more opportunities to earn money. The moment he is economically fit, in today's world, he will be socially in a good position. Once he is socially good, then automatically he will be having the rights, or he will be having a good say politically. So at the individual level, health is very important for a person in this perspective. And the fifth thing is a healthy person makes a healthy family, and a healthy family makes a good thing for the nation. So for the nation, if you look, the first important benefit of a healthy person is it forms good human resource. Imagine that a country who has democracy or demographic dividend of 60% or 70%, if 60% of that population is facing diseases or not healthy, then obviously it becomes a burden on the health of the nation, so that it cannot perform economically, it cannot perform scientifically, it cannot perform globally to make the nation very great. So human resource is the biggest asset. And then human resource as such for the nation forms capital asset. And capital assets are very useful for building the nation. So healthy individuals build the nation. That is the reason why it is very important. At the global level, when the nations are very, very, very healthy, then there will be no issue of globalization. There will be, on the economic aspect, it will be very good for trade and commerce across the globe. And every nation will be enjoying this process called freedom of trade. So individually, the health of the person depends on all these three things at the national level, at the personal level, and the global level. If you look today, we are suffering from COVID pandemic. It is a global pandemic. The reason being, it first affected the person, and then it has affected the nation, and then it has crossed China, and it has reached each and every corner of the country, and today it has become a global problem. So we have to control it. So this is health, and this is why health is important. The third aspect of health is, why does one fall ill, or what is illness? What happens if one is not healthy? We have seen. Why does one fall ill? There are many reasons. The first reason for a person to be unhealthy is the life cycle pattern that humans go. What do I mean by life cycle pattern? Every individual has to go through the process of being an infant, then he has to become a child, then he has to become an adult, a young person, and then he has to reach old age. And then this is one life cycle. The second life cycle is the gender-based approach. That is, males have certain problems, and females, biologically, they have some inherent problems. What are those? Females face the problems during the time of pregnancy. Here comes the concept of maternal mortality ratio. When an infant mortality ratio, as a child, he will be facing he will be prone to many diseases. So this is one life cycle approach or illness. The second reason why people fall ill is, it is because of the diseases. What are diseases? Diseases are those when a person is affected by pathogens, and these pathogens, if it is adversely affecting the health of individuals, then we call them as diseases. What are those pathogens? We should know what are those pathogens. There are bacterial pathogens, parasitic pathogens, virus pathogens, vector-borne diseases. So these are various types. And the reason, the moment you know that these are the viruses or these are the things which are causing diseases, then we will be able to control the disease based on that modality of which is causing the disease. This is first thing. And second thing, third thing is, it is caused by accidents. When accidents happen, many of us become physically or mentally ill. Physically, they become amputees, and mentally, they become mentally retarded persons. In certain cases, we lose human resources in the form of loss of life. And then there is one more incident called accidents happen because of pollution also. Pollution is a major factor which is driving the health problems today. So these are the things which we have to see. One is what we discussed, what is health, why health is important, why does one fall ill. The moment you understand this, then what are the measures that we have to take in order to become healthy? Now, if you look at the measures, the first thing is preventive measures. We all know that prevention is better than cure. So the first thing is prevent the disease from occurring, prevent ourselves from falling prey. And second one is curation, cure. Once you fall ill, go to some institutions which treat your diseases. Now, in this preventive measures, there are three approaches. One is at the personal level, you can prevent the disease, and at the community level, you can ensure preventing the diseases. How? At the personal level, by maintaining some personal hygiene is one thing, personal etiquette is another thing, and following some good habits such as eating right, and exercising. Physical exercises help you, and mental exercises. Exercises will be again physical and mental. So this is how, at the personal level, it is the responsibility of the individuals to take or to ensure that they are not prone to the diseases. At the community level, it is the duty of the community to ensure that the surroundings are very clean, such as they should not be stagnant water, which are very, very attractive places for vector-borne diseases such as malaria, mosquitoes, or cholera. So these are some diseases which affect. So surroundings has to be maintained in the community. So here, who takes the responsibility of the community? It is the governance structures which plays a vital role. So if you look at the preventive measures, one is at the personal level, one is at the governance level. It is the governance of the country, the governing structures of the country who has to take this measures called preventive measures. How they can take the preventive measures through certain laws or through following certain procedures, they can ensure that the measures are taken. So this is preventive measures. Now let us look at the curative measures. What do I mean by curation? That is, once the disease has occurred, we have to cure it. So this is the second approach. How we can cure it? Then if a person is affected from disease, he has to go to certain institutions where he can get treated. What are those institutions that we have? That is allopathic institutions, homeopathic institutions. So these are the basic institutions which are present. Again, these institutions are classified into public health institutions and private health institutions. Today, we are going to discuss this thing. This is public health institutions which are very vital for the curing of the disease. And for this to understand clearly, we should know what is the difference between public health institutions and private health institutions as such. Now, if you look at the public health institutions, the stakeholders here are public, and the second stakeholder is the government. Because government, through the public money, these institutions are established with the help of the taxes that the people are paying. So it is the responsibility of the government to ensure that public health is maintained. Why again? Because health is not just a personal problem, it is a social problem, it is a national problem also. So it is the responsibility of the government to ensure that health acts as a social capital. As a result, public health institutions has to play a vital role. So the stakeholders in public healthcare is public as well as the government. Through the money that people have paid, they form these institutions, and they have to provide facilities at a very minimal cost. Minimal cost. If they are not paying for free, it has to be very, very minimal. Why minimal? Again, government has a contract that it has to look at welfare of the people. As per Article 39 of the Indian Constitution, welfare function has to be maintained by the government. It is a legal contract between people and government. So government should focus. As a result, we have public health institutions. Now, what is private health institutions? If you look at private health institutions, they are established by private players. And who are going here? Again, public will be going here whenever they are facing the diseases. Now, what is the difference between public health and private care? Public healthcare institutions are run by the government. Private healthcare institutions are run by private players whose motive is not public good, but to earn profit. We all know that the basic purpose of private health institutions is profit. As a result, they will be oriented in profit minting arenas. So whenever public goes to these institutions, they have to pay more money from their pocket. So this is the thing. So when more money is being extracted from individuals, then the economic sphere of the individual is going to be weakened, and it is going to cause a havoc on the health of the individual again. So if you look here, health is an economic factor. If he is going for private health institutions, definitely his economic sphere is going to get impacted. So this is one thing. So this is the difference between public health institutions and private health institutions. Now, let us look at the structure. Now, we will move to the point. So this is how, what is meant by health, what is meant by why health is important, what are the causes that makes us unhealthy, and then what are the measures that we have to take care. Now, if you look at this public health system, the topic that we are going to discuss today, here we will be moving to the topic why public health system is very important as such. Public health systems. As I said, the definition of public health system is these are the organizations which are run by the government. These are the formal organizations which are run by the government to ensure that they prevent the disease or they cure the disease and promote the health of the individuals. So they have three functions. First is preventive function, curative function, and promoting function. So this is the definition of public health systems. Private health systems or private institutions whose function is again the same. But the only difference here is that they are going to focus on more money because they invest more money. So this is public health systems first definition. And who are the stakeholders in public health system? We have already discussed that the stakeholders are government and the public, common man. So what are the challenges that public healthcare system is facing? Now, if you look at these challenges, the moment if you understand this, if you want to understand clearly these challenges of public health system, we should know these definitions. That is, when one falls illness, where they have to go? They have to go to the institutions, public health institutions. In this public health institutions, who are responsible? One is public, one is government, and one is health personnel. Health personnel. So the moment health personnel means doctors or the medical practitioners or ASHA workers at the grassroots level or the researchers or the pharmacological department people and everyone who are associated with the so-called public health institutions, they are the members. So if you know who are the components, who are the stakeholders of this, we can write the problems associated to them individually. Before going into that, let us also understand what is the public health structure that is present in the country. We all know that in the country, India is a large country and governing structure of the country is a three-tier structure. That is, at the center, we have central government. At the state level, we have state level government. At the third tier, through 73rd and 74th constitutional amendments, we have panchayat and municipalities. Now, in the similar lines of three-tier governance structure, the government of India has established the public health system in three forms. That is, at the grassroots level or at the rural level, we have tier 1 structures. At the secondary level or at the mandal level, we have tier 2 structures, and at the higher level, tier 3 or tertiary sector, or at the district level, we have third type structure. Now, these tier 1 structures are at the rural levels or inside the hamlets of the country. Yes. Emano?
Reverse, Rasa.
No. Adi దాంట్లో ఇచ్చాడు. No. See,
okay.
Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, that is what they have given in the editorial. But here, generally, it is Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. Tier 1 means at the local level, Tier 2 is at the district level, okay. At the mandal level, Tier 3 is at the district level. Now,
okay.
So Tier 1 structures. Tier 1 structures in India are called primary healthcare centers because they are very near to the communities. Just like our panchayat, they will be established at every village panchayat, or they will be a village at the rural levels. So this is primary healthcare centers, which are very, very, very accessible, easily accessible to the public, and where we have basically trained. Minimum training of healthcare personnel is required. And here ASHA workers are present. Who are these ASHA workers? They are the health personnel who has trained to treat some basic diseases. We have seen that diseases are of viruses, pathogens. So not all diseases are dangerous. That is one thing we have to understand. There will be some common diseases like flu, sneezing, cough, fever. This is not very, very, that doesn't require high training. So with basic medicines, we can treat that diseases. So the first point of this thing is, at the grassroots level itself, you have certain institutions called public healthcare institutions where they are very affordable for the public to go, and two, they are very accessible to the public. Affordable because the money that they are going to accept is very minimal, and accessibility, they are very near to the things. And three, the treatment or the accountability is very huge. Right. So this is the second system. And at the tier 2 structure, we have the so-called at the mandal level, where group of villages, for a group of villages, they will have tier 2 structure. Here, the medical practitioners or the doctors who are present here will be more trained, because these are referral points from the first point, that is from primary healthcare centers. If they are unable to treat the disease, they refer to these secondary type structures, and that is why the practitioners who will be more trained. So still, if they are not able to solve the disease, if it is some serious nature, then they refer to the tier 3 structures, which are called tertiary structures in the country, which are well equipped and highly trained medical practitioners, highly trained doctors, highly trained diagnosis centers are present here. So everything, public infrastructure will be very high here. So this is type 3 structure. If you look at the present system in the country, we have this system. Public healthcare centers are the primary, secondary healthcare centers are the secondary, tertiary healthcare centers are the type 3. So these are the three things that we have to understand. The moment we have understood, we should also know what are the challenges in the system. If you want to understand the challenges in the system, public health system, then we have to have a clear idea on whatever we have read so far. Now, if you come from each and everything, we will understand the problems. The first challenge here is, let us look at the public health system here. The stakeholders are public, the government, and the third one is health personnel. So the first thing from the government side is, challenge is the fund availability. Government of India is not providing required funds for this health sector, because they say that the taxes which are paying is very minimal. So we have some other functions. So we have limited sources of revenue. So the fund that is available for the government to invest in public health infrastructure is very poor. And the research and development that is also going in the country is very minimum. If you want me to give an exact figure, that is around 1.5% of GDP is spent on health. This is very minimum compared to 6% of GDP, which the other countries are spending. So this is first challenge. The second challenge here is the health personnel. What does I mean by health personnel? The number of doctors, ASHA workers, or the pharmacogeneticists, whoever is present here. In India, the requirement is, as per World Health Organization, for every 1,000 population, there has to be one doctor, as per World Health Organization. But in India, for every 1,600 patients, we have one doctor. So we have severe shortage of doctors. The second thing is severe shortage of doctors. And why this severe shortage of doctors? Again, this is related to the concept of, one, the medical institutions which are present in the country. To the total population, we have very minimum number of medical colleges. There are around 3,000 medical colleges. Because of these low number of medical colleges, the number of doctors coming out are very minimum. The second thing is, the second shortage is the amount that is paid to these doctors is also very minimum compared to the private institutions who pay huge sums of money. So because of the amount that is being paid, it doesn't give initiative for the doctors to go and work in the public healthcare institutions. Third thing is the infrastructure that is available at these hospitals. At times, doctors will not have proper cabins or proper facilities even for him to sit and look at the doctors. If you visit any public healthcare center in the country, let us go to the Gandhi Hospital, or if you go and watch the NIMS Hospital, you will be very clear how the doctors will be working there. So the moment if you think that after studying these many things, if they are not provided proper facilities, many of them will not get initiative to go and work there. So first thing first, these are the first problem is fund availability. The second availability is shortage of doctors, health personnel, and medical institutions. Shortage of doctors is because of the medical institutions, and the amount that is being paid to the doctors is not sufficient, and the infrastructure that is available to the doctors is not sufficient. So this is one system. And third thing is the problem is proper training. Though doctors of the tertiary hospitals have been well equipped in the training, at the primary healthcare centers, at the secondary healthcare centers, the training of the doctors is very, very poor. So this makes the problem more complicated. So training of the doctors is very poor. So this is one thing which is again a problem. And the fourth problem of the public health system in the country is, that is, look at this. I said health is physical well-being and mental well-being. Now, the government of India has been focusing on only one thing called physical well-being. If man is physically fit, then it thinks that, okay, he's a very healthy person, rather than giving a scope on mental health. That is the myopic view of the health as such is one biggest problem which the country is facing, because there will be many persons who are mentally retarded. As a result, public healthcare system is not focusing on that. As a result, we have poor public health infrastructure schemes, and as there is no research and development that is going on these diseases called mental diseases, then definitely we are going to have this system. And the fifth is the availability of the public healthcare institutions. We said this is the health person, and the structure we have seen: tier 1 structures, tier 2 structures, and tier 3 structures. Now, what is the availability of these structures in the country? If you look at the availability of these structures in India, we have primary rural healthcare and urban healthcare. Indian population, if you look at the Indian population, 69% of Indian population is living in rural areas, 39% is ruling in urban areas, 61% is ruling in rural areas. For them, the primary contact is, for both of them, is primary healthcare centers. But the primary healthcare centers that are available, that has to be available, or here for 39%, it has to be somewhere around 9,300 as per the original requirements. And for this, we require around 20,000 primary healthcare centers. What is the availability now? These primary healthcare centers, we have only 5,100 as per the records, and for them, we have around 10,200 public healthcare institutions at the grassroots level. Because of the shortage of primary healthcare centers, people are forced to go to the so-called private institutions. So this shortage in the public healthcare institutions is having severe impacts. What are those impacts? Primary healthcare institutions are shortage in number. One difficult thing is, the impact of this is, public are forced to go to private healthcare centers. As a result, we discussed, private healthcare centers have the problem of minting money. As a result, it is going to cost, out of expenditure of individuals is going to get increased. And if you look at the out of expenditure, 69% of the individuals in the country, 69% of the total money of the individual in the country is going towards this out-of-pocket expenditure to a private health institutions. If you look at the second aspect, shortage of this public healthcare centers, one is it is impacting the individual as such. The second thing is it is also creating burden on the structure itself. How it is creating the burden on the structure? How it is creating burden on the structure? When this is very minimum, when the primary healthcare centers are very minimum, people often go to the secondary healthcare centers or primary healthcare, tertiary healthcare centers. So Given the less number of public healthcare centers, people tend to go to the tertiary healthcare centers. As a result, rather than treating critical diseases, they again tend to go for primary diseases such as sneezing, coughing, everything. They are not focusing on critical infrastructure or critical diseases. So this is overburdening the structure itself. Again, why here? So the measure is we should have sufficient number of primary healthcare centers. So these are the shortages. And the third shortage, which primary healthcare system is focusing, why our public health system is not proper, is that we do not have proper R&D facilities. What do I mean by R&D facilities? The moment there is no R&D on data, there has to be data available in the country on the number of diseases that the people are facing, what are those diseases, what are the occurrence of those diseases, at what time the disease is increasing, and in what season the diseases are increasing, what are the modes of spreading. If you are not having all these data, there will not be anything called readiness in the system. So for example, if winter is coming, if monsoon is coming, and if the local authorities are unaware that we have to spray mosquito killers, we have to spray some mosquito controlling breeds on the lakes and rivers, if they fail to forget this basic duty, then definitely mosquitoes used to breed on the open lakes and rivers and absolutely infect the population. This was clearly understood in 2018 in Hyderabad. At that time, there were severe monsoons and the government officials failed to prepare for these monsoons. What is this preparation that they have to do? They have to breed, they have to spray mosquito disinfectants on the Moosi Lake, which is present, or on all the open river water systems. But they failed this. As a result, in that year, the country, Hyderabad, has witnessed highest number of dengue cases. So this is the system. Failure of the governance structure. Our governance failure is one thing which is again leading to the impact of health challenge. So we have seen what are the challenges. First challenge is lack of availability of primary healthcare centers. Because of this, we have seen one is increasing burden on the structure itself, and the second one is primary out-of-pocket expenditure of the people is going to get increased. Why these primary healthcare centers are not lacked? Because no investment available at the government. Third thing is why no investment? Again, the government comes with the point that we have no taxes or less taxes. So we have to have many things. So third thing is lack of healthcare professionals. Healthcare professionals, which I mean by healthcare professionals means poor doctor to patient ratio in the country. And then I have also said that the myopic vision on the concept of health is one thing, and lack of proper surveillance systems, surveillance and regulation systems. So these are the basic things on which we are facing the problems and how to overcome these diseases. Now, what are the things? As these are done things, one thing which is very, very important is, yes, we have to increase the investment, increase the funding so that more public healthcare institutions are established and more secondary healthcare institutions are established. Increase the number of institutions through which the number of doctors or the health professionals are coming out and they have basic training. And then increase the infrastructure that is available at all the levels so that doctors would be initiated to come and work at this sector. Fourth thing is the governance system as such. One governance structure is be prepared with the data. If you are not having the data, then it is going to be a problem. And next thing is proper devaluation of functions. devolution of functions. What do I mean by devolution of functions? Let the primary healthcare centers look at their duty, secondary healthcare centers look at their duty. So this has to be the norm, that is referral points has to be established. And next is, if we look at, this is governance at the personal level, how can we overcome? By maintaining some social vaccination techniques, social behavioral norms. What is this social behavior? By maintaining physical distances, by using handkerchiefs, or maintaining some etiquette, hygiene etiquette, such as while sneezing you have to keep masks, or we have to keep handkerchiefs to your nose or mouth. And then social behavior at the personal level, you have to be preventive. We have to make preventive steps such as eating right, exercising, meditating. So these are the things that we have to do. And then this is all the things in which we can make the diseases to control. And this is how we can make the system, public health system, more accountable. Now, let us look at, after this, we will look at what are the government initiatives at public health care institutions. The government of India has come out with a plan called National Health Mission, Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, through which it is giving incentives for people below poverty line to go and approach the tertiary healthcare centers. And this is National Health Mission. This is focusing on preventive medicines rather than curative disease. What do I mean by preventive diseases? It is focusing on health and wellness centers. So today, primary healthcare centers, today we call them as health and wellness centers. The second thing is this preventive medicines. We have a life cycle approach to tackle the diseases, such as universal health, universal vaccination system, such as prevention of anemia, Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana. For elders, we have some schemes called Pradhan Mantri Vayo Yojana. So these are the things. Government is also focusing on life cycle approach. For the individuals, it is for the child, for the infants, for the pregnant women, for the adults, and then for the aged people. So this is how the system works. So this is all the topic. That is, we have discussed what is public health systems. Before that, we have discussed, in order to understand these public health systems, we should know what is health, what are the various features of this health, how health gets affected, who are the stakeholders in maintaining the health. And then we have looked at the source structure called public health systems, what are the major impediments for this public health system as such, and then what are the challenges and how to overcome this, and what are the major steps that the government of India has taken. So this is the thing. And then we will look at the question that they have asked. ఎలా ఉంది?